Daisy, I saw you at the restaurant yesterday, and I have to say, you looked extremely confident. Until the waiter brought that little spoon.
What are you talking about? I was completely confident. I was only trying to figure out whether that spoon was for my dessert or something else.
Really? Because from where I was sitting, you picked it up, looked at it for 5 seconds, and then quietly put it back on the table.
Harry, there were too many utensils on that table. Sometimes restaurant tables can be surprisingly confusing, especially when you see several forks, spoons, and knives.
That's exactly why I think we should talk about restaurant utensils today. Even confident English speakers sometimes don't know what to call everything on the table.
I completely agree. Knowing the names is useful, but knowing how to ask for utensils naturally is even more important.
Especially when you're sitting in a nice restaurant and suddenly realize you have 3 forks in front of you and absolutely no idea which one to touch.
Don't worry, you don't need to memorize every formal table setting rule. We'll focus on the words and expressions you'll actually use.
That's good, because I don't want to study restaurant etiquette like I'm preparing for a royal dinner.
Neither do I. We want practical English that you can use when you're eating at a restaurant with friends, family, or coworkers.
And maybe we should start with the easiest ones, because I don't want to embarrass myself before we've even finished the first 5 minutes.
Let's start with the 3 basic utensils almost everyone knows: the fork, the knife, and the spoon.
Those are easy enough. I think even I can remember them without making a serious mistake.
I'm glad to hear that. Although I'm still remembering your famous soup and fork experiment.
I knew you were going to bring that up again. For the record, I was trying to solve a practical problem.
You were trying to eat tomato soup with a fork because you couldn't find your spoon.
Fine, you win. But that brings us to an important restaurant phrase. If you need something, you should know how to ask for it politely.
Exactly. One of the easiest patterns is, "Could I have a fork, please?"
So if my fork falls on the floor, I can ask the waiter, "Could I have another fork, please?"
Exactly. The word another tells the waiter that you already had one and now need one more.
That's useful. I could also say, "Could I have another spoon, please?" Or, "Could I have another knife, please?"
Right. And if you're asking for something for everyone at your table, you can use could we have?
So I could say, "Could we have 3 extra forks, please? If everyone needs another fork?"
Exactly. These patterns are useful far beyond utensils. You can use them for water, napkins, plates, or even the bill.
I like that, because I'm learning one sentence pattern that I can reuse in many situations.
That's the goal. We want you to learn English that works in real conversations.
Let's imagine I'm sitting in a restaurant right now. My soup arrives, but there isn't a spoon anywhere. What should I say?
You could say, "Excuse me, could I have a spoon, please? I need one for my soup."
That sounds polite and simple. I wouldn't need to explain anything more than that.
Exactly. You could also simply say, "Excuse me, could I have a spoon, please?" You don't always need to explain why you need it.
Now, suppose I'm eating steak, but the regular knife isn't cutting the meat very well.
In that situation, you could say, "Excuse me, could I have a steak knife, please? This knife isn't cutting the meat very well."
That's useful. It tells the waiter exactly what I need and why I need it.
Right. And remember, could I have is much more polite than simply saying, "Give me a knife."
People would understand, "Give me a knife," but it could sound too direct in a restaurant.
Exactly. In English, the same basic request can sound more polite or more demanding depending on the words you choose.
Now, let's talk about the different kinds of spoons. I know a teaspoon, but I never really thought about the name.
A teaspoon is a small spoon commonly used with tea or coffee. You might also see a dessert spoon, which is generally a little larger and can be used for desserts.
So if I order coffee, I might use a teaspoon to stir it, while a dessert spoon could be useful for pudding or another dessert.
Exactly. But don't worry about identifying every spoon perfectly. In everyday restaurants, knowing the basic word spoon is usually enough.
That's reassuring. I was beginning to think I needed to carry a utensil dictionary around with me.
No, you just need a few useful words and the confidence to ask questions when you're unsure.
What about forks? Are there different kinds of those too?
Yes, depending on the restaurant, you might see a dinner fork, salad fork, or dessert fork.
And how am I supposed to know which one is which without taking a course in restaurant etiquette?
In a casual restaurant, you usually don't need to worry about it. In a formal setting, the arrangement can give you clues about which utensil to use first.
So, for everyday English, learning the word fork is more important than memorizing every type.
Exactly. If you need one, simply ask, "Could I have a fork, please?"
That I can remember. What about knives?
You may hear names such as butter knife, steak knife, or dinner knife. A steak knife usually has a sharper edge because it's designed to cut meat more easily.
And a butter knife is mainly used for spreading butter on bread.
That's right. In many restaurants, the appropriate knife will already be on the table, so you won't need to ask.
Unless someone at my table accidentally takes mine.
Then knowing how to make a polite request becomes useful.
I could say, "Excuse me, could I have another knife, please? I seem to have lost mine."
That's understandable, although you can keep it even simpler. "Excuse me, could I have another knife, please?"
Right. I don't need to tell the waiter the entire tragic story of my missing knife.
Exactly. Keep the request clear and simple, unless more information is necessary.
What about chopsticks? They're obviously restaurant utensils too, especially in Asian restaurants.
Absolutely. Remember that one is called a chopstick, while the normal set is called a pair of chopsticks.
So if I need them, I could say, "Excuse me, could I have a pair of chopsticks, please?"
Perfect. And if you need another set for someone at your table, you could say, "Could we have another pair of chopsticks, please?"
That reminds me of another useful English pattern. A pair of, for things that normally come in twos.
Exactly. We use that expression with many things, including shoes and chopsticks.
Now, what about serving utensils? Sometimes there are large spoons or forks in the middle of the table.
Those are often called serving utensils. A serving spoon or serving fork helps people move food from a shared dish onto their own plates.
So if there's a large bowl of salad in the middle of the table, I might use a serving spoon or serving fork.
Exactly. You might also hear the term salad servers for a spoon and fork combination used to serve salad.
I've seen those many times, but I never knew the English name. This is actually a good way to learn vocabulary.
Yes. Instead of memorizing a list of words, imagine yourself sitting at the restaurant and connect each word to a real object.
That makes the vocabulary easier to remember because I'm learning it in a situation rather than in isolation.
Exactly. And there's another important skill. What do you do when you see an unfamiliar utensil and don't know its name?
I know what I normally do. I stare at it and wait for someone else at the table to use it first.
That's what many people do. But there's a better option. You can simply ask, "What is this called?"
That's very simple. And if I don't know what it's used for, I can ask, "What do I use this for?"
Exactly. You can even combine them. "What is this called and what do I use it for?"
I like that sentence because it solves both problems at once. I learn the name and understand what the utensil does.
And there's nothing embarrassing about asking. Restaurant staff are used to answering questions about food and utensils.
That's an important lesson for English learners too. Sometimes we're afraid to ask because we might make a grammar mistake.
Right. Communication is more important than producing a perfect sentence every time.
And if I forget the exact word, I can describe the object. instead of stopping the conversation.
Exactly. For example, if you forget serving spoon, you could say, "Could you pass me the spoon we use for serving the salad?"
The other person will probably understand me and might even give me the word I was trying to remember.
That's a very useful speaking strategy. You don't need perfect vocabulary to communicate successfully.
I think I've been treating restaurant English like a test, when it's really just normal communication.
That's a common problem. Don't focus on saying the perfect sentence. Focus on making your meaning clear and being polite.
Let's put everything together in a real restaurant role play.
Good idea. I'll be the waiter, and you can be the customer. Imagine you've just sat down at a restaurant.
All right, I'm ready, although I have a feeling you're going to test me.
Welcome to the restaurant. Please have a seat. Can I get you something to drink while you look at the menu?
Thank you. I'll have some water for now, and I'll probably order something to eat in a few minutes.
Certainly. I'll bring that right away. Let me know if you need anything.
Actually, could I ask you something about the table setting? I'm not familiar with one of these utensils.
Of course. Which one are you asking about?
This small spoon next to my plate looks different from the other spoon. What is this one called?
That's a teaspoon. We usually provide it for tea, coffee, or other drinks that need a small spoon.
I see. And what about these two forks? I'm not sure which one I should use first.
The smaller fork is for your salad, while the larger one is your dinner fork.
So if my salad arrives first, I would normally use the smaller fork and then use the larger one for the main course.
That's right. In a formal setting, the utensils are often arranged according to the order in which you'll use them.
I always thought restaurants put several forks on the table just to make people nervous.
It can certainly feel that way when you're not familiar with the system.
Now, imagine that I accidentally drop my fork. What should I say?
You could say, "Excuse me, could I have another fork, please? I dropped mine."
That's simple enough. And if I'm eating steak and need a better knife, I could say, "Could I have a steak knife, please?"
Exactly. You can add a short explanation if necessary, such as, "This knife isn't cutting the meat very well."
Now let's make it harder. Suppose you give me a strange-looking utensil that I've never seen before.
All right, here you go. This is something you might see with a seafood dish.
I have no idea what this is, so I won't pretend that I understand it. I'd ask, "Excuse me, what is this called, and what do I use it for?"
Perfect. That's exactly the kind of question you can use in a real restaurant.
And if I were eating at an Asian restaurant, I could ask, "Excuse me, could I have a pair of chopsticks, please?"
Very good. You're becoming much more confident with these requests.
I have to admit, I started this conversation confused by a tiny spoon, but things are making much more sense now.
Good. But now it's your turn to practice without Harry helping you.
Wait, I'm not the learner anymore?
For the next few situations, you can be the example, but our listeners should answer first.
That's fair. Let's give them some time to practice too.
Exactly. Listeners, imagine you're sitting in a restaurant. Your soup arrives, but there is no spoon on the table. Take a moment and say your answer aloud.
My answer would be, "Excuse me, could I have a spoon, please? I need one for my soup."
Excellent. Here's the next situation. Your fork falls onto the floor, and you need a clean one. Speak your answer aloud before listening to Harry.
I'd say, "Excuse me, could I have another fork, please? I dropped mine."
Perfect. Now imagine you're eating with two friends, and all three of you need extra forks.
I'd say, "Excuse me, could we have 3 extra forks, please?"
Very good. Remember the difference between "could I have" for yourself and "could we have" when you're speaking for a group.
Here's another one. You're given an unfamiliar utensil with your dessert, and you don't know what it's called or how to use it.
Try asking both questions together.
"Excuse me, what is this called, and what do I use it for?"
Excellent. And here's one more. You're eating steak, but your knife isn't cutting the meat properly.
I'd say, "Excuse me, could I have a steak knife, please? This knife isn't cutting the meat very well."
Perfect. Notice how these sentences are simple, but they allow you to handle real situations confidently.
Let's quickly review the most useful vocabulary. We have fork, knife, spoon, teaspoon, dessert spoon, butter knife, steak knife, chopsticks, and serving utensils.
You don't need to memorize every type immediately. Start with the basic words and add the others as you encounter them in real situations.
And the most useful expressions are probably even more important than the vocabulary list.
Exactly. Remember, could I have a fork, please? Is a simple and polite request for yourself.
Could we have some extra forks, please? Works when you're asking for something for your group.
What is this called? Is useful when you don't know the English name of an object.
And what do I use this for? Helps when you don't know what something is used for.
Finally, remember that if you forget a word, you can describe the object instead of stopping the conversation.
That's probably one of the most useful speaking lessons today. Forgetting one word doesn't mean the conversation has to stop.
Exactly. Keep talking, explain what you mean, and ask for help when you need it.
Now, I think we're ready for the final challenge.
Imagine you're visiting a restaurant in an English-speaking country. You need 3 things: a spoon for your soup, another fork because yours fell, and an explanation of an unfamiliar utensil.
Listeners, try to create all 3 sentences yourself before you hear our examples.
For the spoon, you could say, "Excuse me, could I have a spoon, please? I need one for my soup."
For the fork, you could say, "Excuse me, could I have another fork, please? I dropped mine."
And for the unfamiliar utensil, you could ask, "Excuse me, what is this called, and what do I use it for?"
If your sentences were different, that's completely fine. There isn't only one correct way to communicate these ideas.
Exactly. Your goal is to sound clear, polite, and comfortable, not to memorize one perfect sentence.
So here's your challenge after today's episode. Think about your last restaurant experience and describe it in English using at least 3 utensil words.
Then create 2 polite requests using could I have or could we have. Say them aloud instead of only writing them down.
And if you want an extra challenge, imagine you're sitting in a restaurant right now. Ask the waiter for something you need, and then respond to the waiter's answer.
We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Tell us in English, what's the most confusing utensil you've ever seen at a restaurant?
Don't just give us the name if you know it. Try to describe what it looked like and explain what you thought it was used for.
That's a great way to practice describing something when you don't know the exact English word.
Daisy, I have to admit something. I'm still thinking about that tiny spoon from yesterday.
Harry, after this entire conversation, you're still confused about the teaspoon?
I'm not confused. I'm simply giving you another opportunity to explain it.
Nice try. A teaspoon is the small spoon you often use with tea or coffee.
All right, now I definitely remember it. And next time we go to a restaurant, I'll try not to confuse the teaspoon with a tiny soup spoon.
Please do that. I don't think I can survive another restaurant investigation.
Thanks for the lesson, Daisy. And thanks to everyone who practiced with us today.
And remember, you don't need perfect English to communicate in a restaurant. Start with simple words, ask politely, and keep the conversation going.
If you found today's practice useful, share your answer in the comments and tell us about a restaurant experience you remember.
And if you're enjoying learning practical English with us, don't forget to like the episode and subscribe to English Daisy Podcast for more natural conversations.
Keep practicing, keep speaking, and don't let one unfamiliar utensil stop you from enjoying your meal.
We'll see you in the next conversation. Until then, enjoy your English practice and have a wonderful day.
And please remember, Harry's #1 restaurant rule is simple. Never eat tomato soup with a fork.